Certainly is. We'll have to see if it gets any better. But for now, let's learn a little bit more about the Bangkok Titans.
...2012 yılından bu yana ilk şampiyonluğuna henüz erişebilen bir takım. Bangkok Titans. 3 yılda kadrosunu defalarca değiştiren takım, başarı için gereken şeyin istikrar olduğunu artık öğrendi ve 2015 şampiyonluğuna ulaştı. GPL'de 2015'in ilk mevsimi Bangkok Titans için muhteşem başladı. 2 grup aşamasında lider tamamlayan ekip mevsim finaline yükseldi. Herkesin favorisi Bangkok Titans yarı finalde Insidious Gaming Legends'ı 3-0'la süpürdü. Ancak Saigon Fantastic Five'a karşı oynadığı final serisinde üstün götürdüğü ilk maçı kaybetmenin verdiği moral bozukluğu takımın seriye tutunamayıp 3-0 yenilmesiyle sonuçlanıyordu.
ตอนนั้นก็รู้สึกว่าแบบทำได้ไม่เต็มที่อะครับแบบยังขาดอยู่นิดหนึ่งอะไรประมาณนี้ครับแต่ตอนนี้แบบได้มอสมาแบบช่วยเติมก็รู้สึกว่าทีมสึกเต็มที่ขึ้นครับ
Bangkok Titans finalde yenilmesine rağmen Saigon Fantastic Five'ın yaşadığı vize problemleri Tayland takımına ivci biletini getirdi. Turnuvanın başlamasına bir gün kala Türkiye'ye ulaşan takım, yorgun olmasına rağmen grup aşamasında gösterdiği performansla herkesin gözünü korkuttu. Oynadığı oyunla bölgesinin gücünü de herkese gösteren Bangkok Titans, grubu tek mağlubiyet alarak lider bitirdi ve oldukça rahat bir şekilde yarı finale yükseldi. Grubun son maçında Chiefs'i yenerek Beşiktaş'ı yarı final taşıyan Bangkok Titans bir anlamda kendisinin de Azrail'i oluyor ve yarı final serisini 3-0 kaybederek Beşiktaş'a eleniyordu.
คิดว่าเป็นอารมณ์ของคนเล่นตอนนั้นก็ไม่มีกระจิตกระใจจะเล่นแล้วครับผม
İlk mevsimin şampiyonu Saigon Fantastic Five'ın katılamadığı mevsim finalleri Bangkok Titans için oldukça rahat geçti. Her iki turu da 3-0'la geçip yaz mevsimini şampiyon tamamlayan takımın son durağı bölge finalleriydi.
Well, this time we actually have practice. Last time we came without any practice, and we did pretty well for having no practice and a new player who we've never played with before. This time we have a lot of practice with him, and we should do better.
Dünya şampiyonası elemeleri yolunda son rakipleri ise kış mevsiminde kendilerini mağlup eden Fantastic Five'tan transfer ettiği oyuncularla kadrosunu güçlendiren Saigon Jokers'tı. Rövanş için hazırlıklı olan Bangkok Titans 3-1 ile zafere ulaştı ve bölge şampiyonu oldu.
ภูมิใจครับที่ได้เป็นตัวแทนสวีเดนเอเชียก็รู้สึกว่าขอบคุณแฟนๆด้วยครับที่มาถึงตรงนี้ได้
Bangkok Titans aynı sezonda ikinci kez uluslararası arenaya çıkıyor. İvci grup aşamasındaki oyunuyla herkesi yenebileceğini gösteren ekip Warlock önderliğinde dünya şampiyonası için iddialı.
ก็เหมือนเป็นความฝันครับถ้าได้ไปก็เหมือนได้ทำฝันให้เป็นจริงครับ
And welcome back, everyone. You can see the Bangkok Titans just as keen to win as far as mentality goes as they are in their gameplay. And they have a big match coming up here as well. They're about to take on the Turkish favorites, Dark Passage.
And again, the Bangkok Titans fighting last year, or excuse me, at MSI, taking the semifinals against Besiktas. So now facing off against Dark Passage, the other Turkish team. Kind of a bit of a rivalry going in here. Again, the Turkish teams tend to be the favorites for the international wildcard.
Yep, looked very strong, certainly expecting that given the level of play we've seen from Dark Passage. But for me, if you have to classify them in any way, have to be the dark horses for this tournament. Bangkok Titans, that's effectively what they were last time in the middle of this year because they again, arrived very early, one day before, kind of emergency went to the tournament, were able to represent Southeast Asia, and just put on a show that I don't know if anyone was prepared for.
Again, arrived on a technicality to compete for their spot at MSI, which again went to Besiktas. This time around, proving themselves, running through the gauntlet with the addition of Moss that they were talking about in the video. This roster from 2012 to 2015 has gone through 20 different iterations and members rotating through it. Moss is the newest member, but it's been the consistent roster since the last time they faced at the international wildcard.
It certainly has been, and this has been their most successful roster so far. And it's kind of interesting to think about where a lot of their success comes from. Let's actually start in the bottom lane now. Talk about Lloyd, their AD carry. Great player when he gets going especially, but very feast or famine.
And again, just because he has Moss in his lane. We've already talked about how Moss is such a great Thresh player. He's a huge playmaker. Lloyd is technically the secondary carry, their first one being primarily G4. I always want to say J4. Damn you, LPL. But the team is not afraid to protect the AD carry compositions around Lloyd. He does his job. He'll either go massive, he can play low econ, he plays Corki, Lucian, I mean, the whole gauntlet of things. And he's been a consistent spine and backbone for the Bangkok Titans.
Yeah, and it shows in their wins and losses. You can see much better KDA there in those big wins. Really does do a lot of the heavy lifting versus the losses where, honestly, he just kind of flops about and doesn't really do too much. We talk about G4, talk about 007X being these big, important, I guess, momentum or energy builders for the team, but it's Lloyd that does a lot of the hard work. So if he doesn't get going, he can have problems. And we actually saw that, honestly, in that first series. The bit of the game we got yesterday with the Vayne was looking promising despite the deficit, and then Radius Kalista ran all over that bottom lane. It was a very different story.
And again, just to underline this, so we expect G4 to go off to play the assassin to be the primary carry. But again, that composition, you had a Vayne in it. You had the Lulu in the top, so sacrificing Warlocks, Big, Gnar, Maokai for that Lulu because they have so much trust that Lloyd can perform.
Yeah, and perfect time now to talk about G4, who's just been rock solid, it feels like, ever since his time in the roster. You almost always know what you're going to get. He's kind of mixing it up here, but he loves his assassins and always very consistent.
The big thing about him is that he'll make the crazy mechanical outplays and he'll always go for the bloodthirsty kills in lane. We saw it yesterday in his 1v1 attempt on Swiffer in the very first game. We'll see it countless times again. We've seen the Vladimir pretty much perma-banned away from him. Big champion also is going to be Ahri. We do see the Orianna in here as well as some Lulu from time to time because, again, they can be flexible. They can put him on the assassin or they can play the protect the AD carry.
And it's kind of the same story, right? If he's on the assassin, he's there making big plays, getting picks off, and helping Lloyd by, being another threat. But it's exactly the same on the control mates. If you're playing the Orianna, even playing the likes of Lulu, same story, but maybe a different tactic. Get Lloyd going and make sure you give him room.
The one champion that's actually not in this collection that I want to talk about is his Zed. Now, he is famous for his Zed back in Southeast Asia. Even post-nerf, he'll still pull
even
up
right
his Zed.
now.
Even right now. And it also introduces a whole nother level to their compositions available to them because they are so good at running the 1-3-1 that Zed opens up with the split push potential once the Blade of the Rune King is complete.
Yeah, and I mean, it's difficult to execute, certainly. We've seen big macro level strategy perhaps be a weakness of the Bangkok Titans, but they certainly know how to play around G4's assassins, whether he's split pushing, just making big plays. They're a team that will collect everyone, run at you, whether it's G4 on that assassin or on that control mage, and Lloyd's always there doing the big damage. We've seen how they like to play, almost worked against the Chiefs in their opening game, but arguably a much bigger test here against the favorites, Dark Passage.
No, and I think you said it best on the desk when you talked about the Bangkok Titans thrive in chaos. The longer a team fight goes on, the higher their chance of victory, just the higher their skilling for mechanically outplaying their opponents. So yes, they are facing across from Dark Passage, who are the favorites to win this entire tournament, but you can never count the Bangkok Titans out. They're playmakers in every role. I think the apt description was like Chao Gu.
Yep. I think so as well, and a scary team to play against, most certainly. Bangkok Titans have been looking good despite only playing one game, and it was a loss there to start the day. Again, a big test here. There is still a day to play tomorrow as well, so finishing maybe 1-2 wouldn't be the worst news for the Bangkok Titans, but not the start they would have wanted it. On the other side, Dark Passage, very clean first game against Japan. And I think if they have a big game here, they have to look at their last game of the day versus the Chiefs and think, you know what? We've got this 3-0 for day one in the bag.
I have to expect that this is going to kind of be the staple benchmark for Dark Passage. How successful are they actually going to be against the Bangkok Titans? Because against Japan, again, they're the big underdogs coming to this tournament. They have the shortest region. They play the least amount of games. The smallest region, only 6 teams. So that was kind of a give. Dark Passage, they're the favorites coming in here. This should be an easy game through them. Against the Bangkok Titans, this is the dark horse. If Dark Passage can make a statement here, if they can close out quickly, suddenly the tournament drastically shifts.
Yeah, absolutely. Here, you know what? Let's let the players do the talking. We're going to throw back to the casting desk to get into the game.
Thank you so much, Pastry Simon Frostguren, and excellent analysis. We're actually here this time. We're not going to flash and disappear.
Yep.
After that brief pause.
We had a sneak preview. We had a sneak preview of the desk.
That's what it was.
Get everyone
But
ready for the double suspenders.
You'll notice we've got a new guy on the desk. The double suspenders have been brought out. It's Max Atlas Anderson.
Hi, everyone. And look, I'm very excited to get into this game as well. Dark Passage taking on the Bangkok Titans. Both of these teams coming into this tournament very, very strong at this point. So looking at like we might see sort of that battle of the grand final, potentially a little bit of a sneak preview.
Yeah, that is the hope for this set. And so far, everyone is 1-0 except for the Bangkok Titans. It's game number 4. It's the chance for this to become a 1-0 clean slate all around. This is going to be fun.
And that's the best part is if you have a look at the blue side win rate, it is
Really
100%
high.
so far. So
Yeah.
all things considered, Bangkok Titans are on blue side in this game. If the trend continues, then we are going to find everybody at 1 win after this game.
Yeah, theoretically we could find the victory here for the Bangkok Titans, but that will mean that everyone's on 1-1. So
Yeah.
heading into the next couple of games, we're then going to find out who's going to be able to take that extra little bit, and we'll see whether that is going to be, look, the Bangkok Titans Dark Passage looking fantastic as well, but we are into Champion Select.
Yeah, we certainly are. It's Bangkok Titans versus Dark Passage. We're getting into game number 4 of the International Wildcard Qualifier in Turkey. We're already running through the bands. Azir and Victor, respect band away from Naru. That Fizz is likely for Elwin.
Yeah, I actually really, really love these bands coming through. You can tell that the Bangkok Titans have done their homework. The Victor is an interesting one, but seeing Naru played in their last game, he was fantastic on that champion. It's the Alistair that I'm looking at here that Dark Passage will be able to pick up if they want to. It was back-to-back bans in their grand final victory that they did take against Besiktas. But look, we'll see how this one turns out in the end. But once again, Callista's been left open. We'll see whether Lloyd wants to pick up that champion or whether it's going to get through.
Yeah, so that's the interesting adaptation that has taken place here is they've banned Thresh away from Moss instead of the Alistar, which is going to be very interesting. It's very easily takeable here for Dark Passage, but they've gone for the Callista in response.
Yeah, the Callista has been first picked by the Titans as they are trying to get through with their next set, but Dark Passage, you mentioned, they can take away the Alistair, they can take away the Braum. They've got their pick of the litter for supports right now, and with 007's Elise ban, they might look for the Gragas instead.
Yeah, I was actually looking at this, you know, when we were playing this one out last time, Detonation focused me against the Chiefs. I was looking at the Chiefs thinking that Swiper could pick up the Maokai. We saw that hovered by Elwind here. I mean, having a targeted CC to get on top of that Callista is a good idea, but letting it through despite that, I mean, it's very, very scary, irrespective. We'll see whether Dark Passage have a plan for it moving forward. But Crystal, he's managed to grab his Rek'Sai one more time. And yeah, so what is that now? 14 out of 22 games?
Yeah.
If we include the regular split, 2 of the Turkish
An incredible
league.
Rek'Sai player. Looks like he's going to return to it after that previous game. I believe he was something silly like 2-1-11 by the end.
Yep,
Yeah.
the man definitely had a scoreline.
He's done well, and that's the most interesting part about this whole thing is that he's been given
Whoa.
it again. And that's because they ban away the mid laners. But that was quick.
Yeah, and I've learnt this one as well, is the fact that blind picking a melee assassin in the mid lane is
Doesn't matter.
dangerous, Rusty.
Nope, not if your name is G4. That's one thing to consider is he plays the Varus, he's got some other pocket poke style of champions, but he's most comfortable when he's playing melee assassins because it's just his thing. It's what he makes work to a great degree of success. So no hesitation, locks in the Diana.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy who's going to beat you in lane, either get a solo kill or force you back multiple times, and then split push, taking turret after turret before he finally groups up with his team and they win. That really has been how the Bangkok Titans have won in the past, but Dark Passage, I don't think we're quite going to let them be that passive and allow G4 to play that effectively because Crystal, he loves roaming all across the map.
Oh, and I'd be so excited for this. Dark Passage playing with the magical journey. Magical, dangerous dark journey potentially be taken here, and they're going to lock it in. Zeitnot as well, hopping back onto that, the Cogmore that just completely escaped my brain somehow, and Lulu is still up. Warlock may be able to take that one back into the top lane, potentially. Of course, we saw it on day 1. Do we call it day 1?
Yeah.
Well, you know, in their game against the Chiefs, they didn't actually quite get through, but we did see him playing that one up there in the top lane. So we'll see whether that is going to be taken away because the Lulu-Cogmore combination is despicable.
Yeah, it's very scary. We're looking at the next picks for the Bangkok Titans. They've got the top lane and the jungle. Lulu being looked at by Warlock.
They honestly have to. They have to go Lulu or they're giving away what is potentially Lulu for Elwind. No, it's Naru that would be getting the Lulu, and that's perfectly fine. So what they're doing here, Dark Passage, by picking the Cogmore is bottlenecking where the Lulu's going to go for this Bangkok Titans side.
Kinda.
Well, I mean,
Warlock could play it.
to a degree.
More than happy to play it. Of course, he played Lee Sin in the IWCI. This guy's more than happy to play whatever he wants up there in the top lane, but they are going to lock it in. Haven't quite seen where it's going just yet. Of course, I just love flex picks.
Let's just
Rusty,
make
you know
the
that.
fair assumption, to be honest. And
He's going to take Callista
The
in the
jungle
top lane.
Braum's going to be there. I'm really glad that we're going to see that support Gragas. Let's look over Dark Passage's side, Rusty.
If we go off pick order, it's actually AD Gragas. But yes, Dark Passage, they've got the last pick, and it is on to them as to where they would like to go for the mid lane, I believe it is. Everything still well and truly up for Naru, besides what has been banned, which is a lot of his favorite champions, though he's still got some...
So right now he's hovering the Flash Ghost. Victor taken away. I'm thinking it could be Twisted Fate.
Potentially.
What?
We'll see
Well,
what
yeah,
he
we'll
does
definitely find
want to
out.
go for here. Of course, he's played a heck of a lot of different champions. This is a massive one for
Oriana's
him,
good
but
here.
control
Yes.
mages in general are exactly what Naru is very comfortable on. Plus, you can add that Command Protect to your Kog'Maw, really get that shockwave going on top of your Maokai. I like it for the team fight.
This is going to be a scary mid lane for G4. Crystal coming out of the wing. Suddenly he's got a Command Protect. Then knock up Shockwave. Damage on top of damage. Could be scary. But final team comps locked in. Bangkok Titans versus Dark Passage. We're getting in the game.
And it's a mixed bag here, honestly, from Bangkok Titans. You look at the team comp that they've now completed. They've got assassins, they've got tanks, they've got a lot of damage over time, and then they've got a Lulu, which really does feel like the odd one out of the team comp. And that's solely on the fact that they took it away from Dark Passage, so it was picked out of necessity for their team. So what does it provide? It provides a lot of survivability for the Kalista. It gives an added option for Diana to be overly aggressive and go in. But it just doesn't match as much as the rest of Dark Passage.
Yeah, and the thing that I'm looking at here is the fact that they do have the Lulu, and yes, picking it away from the potential Lulu Kog'Maw comp is a fantastic idea, but you often pick it into these sort of burst mages, these champions that want to be eliminating a single target and then moving on through, and they struggle if they can't do that. On the side of the Dark Passage, they've got Oriana, massive consistent damage. She can just throw the ball around wherever she wants, and Kog'Maw, I mean, he's a turret.
Yeah.
He's going to be doing consistent damage. It's his job. It's his thing.
Yeah, we'll see how it works out, but running through the lineups, you can see them on your screen as we prepare to get into game. The only team not to have taken a win yet, it's Bangkok Titans versus Dark Passage. Will they be able to get that win? As right now, Dark Passage, they're probably feeling pretty good about their win.
Certainly would be, and of course, odds actually favoring Bangkok Titans, as we mentioned earlier. Blue side playing a big factor for all of these teams and finding victories. The Kalista, the first pick, is always a very big point of contention that needs to be considered. And Lloyd has got that, so that's very scary.
Yeah, we'll see whether the lockdown CC is going to be enough here as well, because, I mean, that is going to be very, very important, making sure that Kalista doesn't get past the first round of CC.
Yeah.
Because that's the main thing. If she gets past the first round, then she just bounces away. She's
Heals
like
right
that
back
annoying
up.
rabbit that you just can't pin down. And we'll see whether they can get on top of her and kill her, or whether she's just going to run away with this
We
game.
certainly shall as we get on to the rift between the Bangkok Titans and Dark Passage. Uh-oh. The Titans might be looking for something a little cheesy as they group as 5. Elwind could be in trouble. Warlock splits off.
Hey, not every, 5-man party is going to be a cheese party, Dom, You might just be getting togetherness going on, getting some deep vision down. We'll see what they are going to decide to
They're
do.
gonna go
Nice
with
saplings
saplings,
there
yeah.
for Elwind, though.
He's going to spot out Moss. Another sapling should spot everyone else out.
Measure.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
not very good at soccer.
So then we have to ask the question, are the Bangkok Titans looking for a lane swap with this? I mean, the objective of this is, if possible, find a few kills with the early Braum, but more importantly, find wards.
It's not necessarily to go for a direct lane swap themselves, it's to get vision of the potential lane swap. You look at the lane Kalista and Braum, and that is exceptionally strong in laning phase. Bard is a very good laner. In fact, he's arguably one of the best laners, but that's in a 1 versus 1 style of scenario where you take into account the Kog'Maw. He's strong with W up, but the prolonged trade, you had to give the advantage definitely to the Bangkok Titans in the 2v2. So the warding that they're putting down right now is just to get vision, to see if they want to put the lane swap into effect from the opposition side here of Dark Passage and match it, or deal with it accordingly.
Interesting. Well, we'll see if they will pull out that lane swap. As you can see, we are entering into a pause. We'll get that figured out as quick as possible.
I think we'll manage to navigate this one.
Yeah.
Not exactly unknown territory.
But let's talk a little bit about the Titans. They were looking to get aggressive with this. They are on blue side, so they do have the favored win rate when it's all said and done. But Dark Passage, will they be the first ones to upset that 100% win rate?
Dark Passage, they're the favorites, arguably, coming into this tournament. So they've found themselves with a very strong draft. It feels like the kind of draft that they want to have. It's not necessarily the top 5 meta picks that they could possibly want. They don't have the Lulu and the Kalista. That has been taken away from them on the flip side. But what they have is a roaming party that can work between the support and jungle. They can get in the face of everybody. They can make a lot of early rotations happen. And this is a big factor as to why they might want the lane swap themselves. We saw the fact that like the early warding that was actually placed down by Bangkok Titans is in a way to deal with seeing if the lane swap happens, and they'll probably look for the standard lanes. But if they're unlocked, if Dark Passage actually gets what they're looking for, if they get the lane swap and Bard gets completely unlocked, they can just run away with the map.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can run around, you can pick up your meeps, you can grab all of your chimes from around the map and get moving really quickly, and of course augment your auto attack, augment all of your damage there on the Bard. He's built as a roaming support, so try and get to the point where you can really unlock him, move him around the map. I want to talk as well about the mid lane here, Orianna versus the Diana. This might be an opportunity for G4 to really get things going. Of course, Orianna not known for a mid-game strength, which is when you're going to have your Diana at her peak. I mean, you're going to finish the Abyssal Scepter, something like that, get that early penetration, and once you hit level 6, really hard to get you off once she's in there right on top of you.
Yeah, so Orianna's the triple threat in terms of itemization when she becomes really relevant and can start taking people down, not only solo but in team fights, whereas Diana looks towards 1 item for assassination, 2 items for assassination plus team fighting, and 3 items for just being ridiculous.
Yeah, and it does depend on how accelerated she gets. But we are, of course, back onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen.
We are indeed. G4 will find Naru in the mid lane. No lane swaps for those mid laners. I don't know why that would happen in that case, but yeah, it's not going to be.
It's happened before, just not this season.
Yeah, not quite. But they're going to be trading off as best they can. I'm actually looking forward to see how G4 builds this Diana, because we saw in the last game when Saros took it, he actually went for the Abyssal first into his Zhonya's. He was going to dive in and destroy you, not going for the Nashor's Rylai's split push. But Dark Passage.
Yeah, G4 was looking to pull the lane forward, has been using the flash there, but the Twisted advances on top of G4. Exhaust is down, first blood. So easy for Naru.
And this is really smart from Dark Passage, the way that Diana plays the lane, and it's something that you can almost commend G4 for doing, is pushing it and making sure that you get level 2 for free by getting it to the turret. But in doing so, he leaves himself vulnerable to an early gank, and that is exactly what Dark Passage did. They capitalized on that phenomenally, and they're coming back for more.
Oh no, G4 has no flash. Is he going to make it out this time? Yeah, he sees them coming from the side, but Dark Passage, starting off with first blood, they're feeling nice and aggressive in this set.
Did G4 just have a casual giggle there as well once he walked out of the way? So keeping his spirits up here as well on the Rift, but Bangkok Titans looking for a potential dive here. That's going to happen. Lloyd's just going to lock that one down with the Ren. Moss tanks it up. Not even going to die.
But really, really easy here from the Bangkok Titans. The response has come through, so they're at 1 kill apiece, but the key difference is the mid lane kill was just a kill. The top lane one, maybe more.
Flash tag is going to find Rydell, but he makes it under the tier 2. 1-for-1 trade. This game is action-packed.
Yeah, I love that from Moss as well. The stand behind me into the instant Winter's Bite. It looked like he got Fate's called. Look at the Kalista. She's not quite level 6 yet.
Not quite getting up there. Crystal, once again, just exerting some pressure as he secures Scuttle Crab to keep his Kog'Maw safe. And I guess that's really the big difference so far, is that Lloyd, he's got the safety of his team as they set up for a dive, but Zeitnot on the other side, he's just got a deep freeze built up.
Yeah, and he's going to freely farm as well and get the solo experience, which is super important for a Kog'Maw. Increases the range and just ramps up with that level 6 power spike as well to something unreal. The key factor between this right now is that Lulu's spending a lot of time rotating and roaming around the map and not actually laning, whereas the Maokai spent a lot of time laning. But to contrast that, the Maokai's also spent time in the Death Chamber, so he's not actually laning himself, and this is where it's matched to almost even.
Oh, G4 might be caught out again. Teleport coming in.
Nice
G4
teleport.
actually pulls Crystal back. He's got a flash, but here's Warlock. Crystal tries to turn it around. Flash, will they be able to get him? No, Crystal gets out.
Third man of the minions, pretty good there too.
Yeah, and that was a level 2 Lulu also. So in terms of teleport and impactful ganks, it was successful in denying the engage from Crystal. Not really going to kill anything.
Yeah. But once again, Warlock, he's out of his lane, not catching experience. He's spent more time in this mid lane trying to cover for G4 than actually in an impacting lane.
It's True. Naru is going to find his time to head back to base here, though. Fiendish Codex was picked up by G4, so it looks like it is going to be the Nashor's Tooth first up. We've seen a little bit more popular at the moment on the Diana. Of course, the item has been buffed just a bit as well. Cosmic Binding not going to find Lloyd here as he's happily 2v1ing with Moss hanging out about the side.
Yeah, this is a very scattered game here from both of these teams, but it's definitely reactive more so than anything else. Is that we've got a Lulu solo farming the middle lane against a Rek'Sai solo farming the middle lane. And it's because of recall timings and the way that they're moving around the map. And speaking of moving around the map, I think the most important part to take from all of this is that the Rek'Sai's not.
No, which is generally what Rek'Sai does like to do. But Crystal has most certainly been farming. Rusty, that is exactly what he's been doing. 20-7 here. 007X has been doing his 007X things, which is trying to be there to pick up the kills, but has just not managed to find too many after that initial dive in the top lane. But you were talking about sort of a chaotic nature of this game, and you have to think, if you look at the Bangkok Titans history, that's how they love it. That's how they want to play League of Legends.
And this is honestly their play style to a T as well, is that they like to pressure every single lane, and that unlocks their jungler 007 to make ganks, to invade the jungle and be in the opposition side of the map, as we are currently observing. The fact that he can do that, and it's a force of habit from Bangkok Titans, to be fair. They do this to a fault occasionally and can be capitalized on. We saw this in the Chiefs game. But when he can successfully do that, it's when Bangkok Titans look at their best.
Now the thing is, though, Dark Passage are ahead in farm in both the bottom lane and the top lane here. Maokai more than happily farming over double the CS of Warlock, which is at the moment about 19 CS, which is not a gigantic amount. But as far as this lane swap is concerned, it seems to be working out agriculturally for Dark Passage.
So far, things nice and slow after the early chaos as everyone tries to keep pace with their lane partners. Zeitnot finally is going to get a glimpse of the elusive Kalista as it heads down to the bottom lane. Recall completes Bilgewater and Phage for Zeitnot. And now the supports are just going to play tag with each other as they try to get some wards out.
You know, the best part is it wasn't even chaos. It was just, you just ganked me mid as 4 members. So I'm just going to dive top as 4 members because that's where we have the numbers. It was
the revenge story.
Yeah, again, very reactive in the way of doing it. And honestly, it's just slightly accelerated laning phase, all things considered. A kill going down to Kalista and being equal in farm is massive because you can see the items relatively even, but having that extra lifesteal, having that extra sustain, if they manage to get a successful trade, then they look very ahead.
Well, Moss threading the needle there on that Winter's Bite onto the Cogmore. Crystal once again. This guy is just always in the right spot, waiting. But no engagement is going to come out. And I really like this out of the Rek'Sai player just because of the fact that the Kalista lane just inherently is going to want to fight.
Yeah, definitely is. So the way that the pressure's coming down here, Crystal is honestly one of the smartest junglers you'll ever see move around the map. The ganks aren't necessarily successful, but he's always there. He's not necessarily proactive again, but always there. I don't know how he does it, but he does it.
Oh, that Cosmic Binding, though, was fantastic. Moss loses half of his health bar there. Only level 4 at this stage. Level 5 for Rydell. Of course, being Bard helps you out in that front. Little meat. Oh, man, love that champion so much.
That's great.
So 9 minutes in, we're not seeing too much action outside of those early ganks. There is a late scaling Kog'Maw and a pretty mid to late scaling Kalista. How are we expecting these team fights to work out?
Well, you said it yourself, essentially. The mid game is in favor of Bangkok Titans. They have a member nearby here looking for a gank as well. Oh, they're going.
Yeah, Fate's Call goes down onto Zeitnot here as the stun's going to be there with the Winter's Bite. Meanwhile, G4 is going to take down the mid lane. They're actually both of them just trading 1-for-1, but the action's still occurring here on the bottom side. Teleport in has been answered already by Elwyn, but Warlock comes in, does have the wild growth.
That was a whole lot of nothing. Oh, they're going again.
Yeah, they are. This is going to be 007X who's caught out on the side. He goes down while the rest of the Titans are forced to back away, and Dark Passage get the better of this skirmish.
They get the better, but only by the smallest amount. Another teleport. They are not done.
Yep. G4 makes his way in. The flash out of the way of the Tempered Fate. They take the magical journey, though, underneath the turret. It's Crystal. Does he have the tunnel? He does. And it's not going to be the Crescent Strike to land now as his living artilleries are doing work for Zeitnot.
Teleport, pretty good summoner spell is what we can take from this entire engage, is that not many people have gone down. I think one member from Bangkok Titans, all things considered. So Dark Passage, they come out slightly ahead in that trade. They do really well. The pit lane is killing each other in the middle of that whole thing happening. G4 respawning, and then coming back to the bottom lane with his own teleport to play a part in that engage. That was a beautiful nightmare.
Yeah, G4 was neck deep under the turret as well.
Yeah.
That was what he was doing. He was sort of dry humping the outer turret in the mid lane, taking Naru down with him there. So, look, if you're going to get a kill, you may as well get it. And that's with a teleport as opposed to an ignite that was in the hands of Oriana.
So that speaks volumes as to how that was going. Naru playing defensively, gets dove for his troubles, and then able to have an impact on other parts of the map that honestly would have favored. They're going.
Oh, G4 dashes into Naru. Shockwave finds the two of them. He's taking a lot of damage, gets destroyed by G4.
Completely wrecked right there. Very smart play from G4. Can traverse the entire lane in the span of about a second, even just using that second ultimate before the Q connects to ensure that he can use the E, keep Oriana close by. And he had to use a shockwave on top of himself to ensure it connected. There was no escape.
Yeah, did make use of the fact that he got the extra resistances there by having the ball on his head, but was not helping out there. Does have the Athenes on Holy Grail completed, does have some boots now as well, but G4 very close to grabbing that sword of his, and Rydell gets followed. He's going to be stunned as well. The Golden Man becomes even more golden. So Rydell's going to fall down for the 4th kill. The Bangkok Titans, and blue side is looking powerful at the moment, gentlemen.
G4 is looking powerful.
Yes.
The fact that he can actually find kills everywhere that he's looking at the moment is going to play wonders for this team. We were talking just beforehand about how these teams are going team fights and scaling. Well, you know what? They're just going to fight again, apparently.
Yeah, not gonna find the knockup. Yeah, just a Fate's call. Just wants to chuck a Braum around. It makes sense.
Well, this is what we expected from Lloyd, that he is the very aggressive, hyper-mechanical player. If he can outplay you, he will at the very least try, though. Zeitnot looks to make sure that it is only an attempt and not an actual success.
That was an interesting trade. They're using the Cutlass active just to let him know that he has a Cutlass.
Yeah, here you go. Take my one button.
100 damage.
But you'd stop practicing.
Yeah, so Crystal shows himself on the bottom side of the map now as he secures the Scuttle Crab. Might be looking for some action onto Moss and Lloyd, but he's going to play it safe for now. We haven't seen any dragons just yet, as it has been Skirmish City, and it's still very even when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and G4 has picked up that Nasho's Tooth. Now Magic Mantle there sitting down as well, so probably wants the Negatron Cloak into the Abyssal Scepter when he can. Let's see whether that is what he decides to go with. But Rusty, what is sort of the benefit of taking the Nashor's Tooth instead of the Abyssal Scepter earlier?
It's really good for split pushing because he can just destroy minions with auto attacks alone. It also gives him that extra power in that he has the ability power. He's not just an assassin from spells alone, because he can couple that with auto attacks, intertwine them, and just becomes this overwhelming power in a dueling scenario. Keep in mind that if he had a Zhonya's, had an Abyssal, it's a combat team fight stat. Whereas you go for a Nasha's Tooth, it's a dueling stat, similar to a Trinity Force on a top lane.
We'll see whether G4 is going to continue in his style that he often does decide to employ, which is, see you later team, I'm heading into a different lane.
We'll certainly see if that's the case. His teleport is coming up in just a few, so it would likely be sending Lloyd and Moss somewhere else, as Warlock is content to keep trading it out. Harass finds Lloyd and Moss in the bottom lane, but Zeitnot continues to maintain the CS advantage over Lloyd. Isn't quite able to do too much with it, though, as he looks for a Trinity Force to call his own.
It's very different to the Detonation Focus Me match, though. Of course, not quite the CS advantage. Only about 11 at this point. As G4 is looking for that Crescent Slash. Able to hit the backline minions there as well, so he can continue pushing this wave out. And I've actually really liked how he's played the laning phase on this Diana, relentlessly shoving just to make sure that Naru couldn't get any poke in. He's just killing minions left, right, and center.
He was also almost 2 levels ahead there, Oriana, just ticking that level 10 mark. So in a very comfortable position here, G4, and should be able to put the rest of the team on his back for the next 5 to 10 minutes. They're waiting for that 2-item select for Kalista. Honestly, they're just waiting for 1 item at this stage before they consider actually grouping to any regard and fighting whatsoever. But keep in mind that Zeitnot will have the spike at around the same time.
007X spotting Crystal out here in the river. G4's
like
coming
they-
down as well. Yeah, they're looking for a collapse.
Just might have been. But they're going to let Crystal go. So far, it seems like 007 and mainly the Titans have done a great job of keeping track of where Crystal has been. We talked about how he loves being super aggressive in this set. Well, he hasn't really had an opportunity to be too aggressive in this one.
The thing with Crystal is he's aggressive, but not overly aggressive ever, is that he'll just sit back and keep vision at a safe zone, essentially. He'll never proactively go in. Speaking of going in, Warlock.
Yeah, having some trouble.
Yeah, it's sort of actually the opposite here with Crystal, because yes, he's often aggressive with where he's getting his vision down, with where he's positioned, but it's always calculated. He's always making sure that he's not getting himself into a position where he could be in trouble, whereas I think of aggression as, you know, someone that's just going to run at you. That's not Crystal. Crystal's making sure he's knows everything. Everyone flashing out of the way of the Tempered Fate, though, as Naru's just going to get destroyed by G4. Crystal here gets moonfalled up. Moss is very low, somehow still alive as Magical Journey taken forever by Rydell. Bangkok Titans all grouped as 5, and we'll see whether this means Dragon.
Certainly should mean Dragon. They've got the numbers advantage down here right now. Teleport available. No, there's no real need to even use it. Warlock's just going to recall, you know. Confidence Callisto on that Dragon.
Dragon number 1 is secured by the Titans. It's dead even in gold after finding that pick onto Naru, but the Titans putting the gank in effect on the invade, even securing away the blue buff that Naru just had donated to him.
I'm just not sure how Moss managed to survive that. He was just so incredibly low. There was AoE flying everywhere and just managed to avoid it.
Oriana was dead super quick in that fight. Still has the shockwave available, so that sings a song on how that fight went. Completely caught out of position. The Unbreakable was up for Braum, so he's never really going to look like dying too quickly, to say the least. So all things considered, though, Bangkok Titans, they make a very smart engage and a very smart invade. It timed well around the blue buff, knowing that they'll have members there to find at the very least, and in this case, take down. 007's the aggressive jungler. He'll be the one that looks for the fights, whereas Crystal will place down vision. He'll look for you, but if you're not there, he'll actually take camps. If you are there, he'll just watch from a distance.
Belly slam from 007 gets him over the wall as the Titans pressure in the mid lane now. Don't know that they're going to be too effective in taking anything, as there is a strong defensive line from Dark Passage. So far, they've got the kills and the first dragon, but Dark Passage are dead even in gold. Zeitnot, is he looking to 1v1 Lloyd right now?
Something it is.
Gets some damage across, dancing around. He does so much. Flash shield, double flash as Lloyd gets out, misses the spear. But here is G4. He's going to find Rydell. Slow locks him down. He flashes. Zeitnot is low. G4 looks to get the kill. He's so low. He gets picked up by Moss.
Oh, dear.
His dead body took the journey.
The Acathian journey.
A magical surprise.
Oh, dear. Some would say that that could be a dark passage, Rusty.
Oh, God. Oh, that was unreal, though. That was done really well again from Bangkok Titans. They have Diana in all of the right places, finding all of the right kills, not even waiting for the Q to connect, because has the Nash's Tooth can auto-attack you and isn't the assassin that is spell reliant. So very smart play here from Bangkok Titans. And we're going to see this again. The fact that he can take the journey and run back around and explode on nothing, it's quite saddening, really.
Yeah.
Oh,
Poor little Kog'Maw. That is actually his first death of the game, and you know, he actually did have a CS and experience advantage over Lloyd. You can see that that's now been evened up. It's 10-10, and the CS is pretty even as well, as even Warlock gets to take out the turret away from Elwin, who was pretty effectively keeping Warlock locked down in lane.
Yeah, it came to do with recall timings and positions in fights. So Warlock having that Rod of Ages actually does damage now and continues to scale in terms of laning phase strength, has the wave clear, has the damage to output onto Elwin, who's building tanky stats, building health. So his damage starts to drop off, whereas he was winning with base stats.
Zeitnot finds some damage onto the bottom tier 1, but isn't quite able to drop it down. The mid tier 1 was similarly dropped by G4.
He's now taking the wolf camp.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. I actually thought that Lloyd was waiting for a Fate's Call there, but decided not to pull the trigger onto Zeitnot and Rydell. And it looks like Leandri's Torment's going to be the second item here for Naru, and I just don't feel like he's going to have very much damage. I mean, I guess it's going for, like, let's try and get the Magic Pen to get some, like, early damage down, but I don't really know.
Well, I could justify it all I want, but
Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that as well. I just didn't quite trust
So
my
it
analytical
costs
strength at that point.
1,500 gold, and it gives you about 10 flat, 20 flat Magic Pen. Irrespective, the amount that it's going to give you in terms of magic penetration is not even enough to get through the Diana, who has an Abyssal Scepter Merc Treads. You're better off going Void Staff second item and having the components of a Void Staff for the same cost. And you would be having a better item build compared to what that is right now, which just doesn't feel right because you're buying it for the health bet.
Yeah, slightly. Naru, speaking of which, is going to get punished for the build. G4 on a rampage now, and Dark Passage going to take advantage of it by taking down the bottom outer turret.
Oh, here come the rest of the Titans. They could catch Zeitnot. He dodges out to the side, still going to be knocked up. Will they be able to lock him down? They succeed. The Fate's Call locks him out, but Lloyd is dancing around. He dodges. He's still alive. The 007X finally finishes him off. Rydell is the next target. He gets destroyed by G4, and the Titans are netting kill after kill.
And they do not look like slowing down anytime soon. This is timed a minute away from the Dragon being available, so control of the area well and truly theirs. They've got the bottom turret ready for them to take. They're just waiting on a minion wave to do so. This one will go down. And just like that, the game is starting to snowball. Orianna gets picked in the middle lane, and immediately after the bottom lane, the same thing happens, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and the interesting thing here is the fact that Dark Passage play around Naru so often, and this is what I was expecting Detonation Focus Me to do a little bit more of, was to focus this mid laner, focus the Shockcaller, the captain of Dark Passage, and it's now happened, and G4 and 007X, almost every single gank this game has been killing the Orianna. And it seems to be working wonders. I mean, you've got a 7 out of the 9 kills participated in here for G4. This Diana is so big at 6-2-1.
And he's an assassin player that has most of the kills. So if there was ever a person you would want that on, it's going to be G4 on this Diana. So all things considered, they're doing real well here, Bangkok Titans. And Naru, the shot caller for the team, as you mentioned. If you're in a losing lane and you're trying to shot call as the mid laner, you are often much more hesitant to actually say yes to fights and yes to engages because you don't feel like you're strong enough yourself compared to your opposition.
It takes a massive amount of mental fortitude as well to make sure that you can stay in the right mindset. Consider the fact that, you know, your Kog'Maw has got a heck of a lot of farm. You've almost got the Blade of the Ruin King completed. You're going to scale fantastically into the late stages of the game, and you can just hold on and try and get things moving forward because they have an answer to the Kalista. They can use the Twisted Advance, use the Shockwave, try and explode that massive hyper carry that can be so slippery. But it's going to be so hard with this huge Diana romping around the Rift.
It certainly is. 23 minutes and a half. G4
That's a
looks for
tank,
yet
G4.
another kill. I don't think he minds too much.
I don't think it's a tank either, relative to what G4 is. It's just another champion. That
Lloyd solos the Dragon for his team while the rest of the Titans hold Dark Passage down in the mid lane. And Titans, as we mentioned, starting to snowball this game further ahead.
certainly in a fantastic position. But again, you touched on it earlier, Atlas, the fact that they have got scaling here from Dark Passage. If they can just attempt to do what the Chiefs were trying to do in that last game, farm, scale, and actually get some items. They're waiting for the 3 big items. It's probably going to be 3.5 now because Naru has a Haunting, guys. I don't know. Zeitnot working towards his second item will still be doing a lot of damage once he finishes the Blade of the Ruined King. And their top laner, Elwyn, always going to be tanky, always going to be relevant if he has damage to back him. So you look at what Dark Passage have, their scaling is well and truly still there. It is on the table. It's not out of the way yet because the difference in gold's only 4K.
Yeah. Definitely not too much. And one thing that can be said about Dark Passage is the fact that they farm exceptionally well. I mean, the fact that G4 is ahead makes a fair bit of sense. Dark Passage not going to be taken there. Good. Sorry, that is a Magical Journey, not a Dark Passage. That one is in fact a Lantern.
The Titans start to siege forward now as Dark Passage forced to play defensive and wait this one out. 2 items finished for Lloyd means he's going to do a lot of damage.
G4 just finished a full Zhonya's Hourglass on his last back.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's 6-2-1. He actually hadn't recalled in a while. Currently, let's see, that's 2,500 gold ahead of his lane opponent.
Not bad.
Is that all? Yeah, that's no big deal.
No big deal at all.
And if we take into account that one of them has a haunting, guys, it's about 3,000, no, 4,000 gold ahead. Look, I just don't like
You're not
the
a
item.
fan of it, are you? Well, of course, you were casting the LPL. And Godby, of course, the Orianna Master himself, did build Leandri's Torment a few times. Of course, does like that build somewhat.
So if you
doesn't do
saw
it
from the
anymore.
rest of the gold, it was actually close to even everywhere else. I believe Lloyd had only about a 500 to 700 gold lead. Warlock only had about a 200 gold lead. The only place that was really different was Moss was 1,000 gold ahead of Rydell.
Well, that's interesting. Of course, the extra turret is going to help on the global gold scale, as Moss is actually going to get caught out here by Crystal. Zeitnot unable to really find this one. Crystal going to get stunned up by the Braum, who now has the Fate's Call to get him out of trouble if he does fall prey to any funny business. Dark Passage now grouped as 4.
Meanwhile,
And Elwind's just going to die underneath the turret.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep in mind that Elwind is the Maokai.
Yeah, he's the tank.
He's the
I
one
tried to
that's-
call him a tank, remember?
Yeah, he's the one that's meant to be able to absorb damage and not die, but G4 is just so far ahead. Yep. He can split push right now. He's got the teleport anyway. They can run a 1-3-1, which is what Bangkok Titans love to do, irrespective of how the map is going. It's only going to go better for them here.
Good flash from Lloyd to dodge the Fate's Call from Rydell, but the Titans are putting pressure all across the map, and slowly but surely, Dark Passage are falling apart at the seams. Warlock almost gets caught, but the 1-3-1 groups up to keep him safe as Lloyd continues to split in the top lane.
I actually really love that, though. The Rydell throwing out the Tempered Fate manages to get the flash from Lloyd, and if they can find a fight in the next 5 minutes where they can take down the Callista, that could be a big deal here for Dark Passage.
I completely agree, because the Maokai is also really good at getting onto the Callista, who has no escapes once he is on now with not having that flash available. So definitely a window for them in regards to finding a kill. Of course, the Bard ultimate will be back before the flash is. Everything pretty much is in terms of ultimates compared to summoner spells. One thing I really want to talk about here is that a Frozen Heart was the item of choice for Moss. And he is ahead in gold. We saw that, 1,000 gold ahead earlier. He's just going straight into the resistances to team fight for his team. He's a part of the 3-man in the 1-3-1, and he has to be the big tank, because you look at the rest of that roster, Gragas has gone for the team-based tanky item, gone for the locket, and they needed someone to just sit in the direct front. And you know, Baron's also on the mapping.
I love the Bangkok Titans.
Well, with the Callista available, they can shred through its health so quickly. Crystal will get a ward over the wall to spot it out. Here come the rest of Dark Passage. But that just buys more time for Lloyd and G4. Elwind, oh, he's probably not feeling too safe. The turret is being shredded.
Casual 3-level advantage here by G4 as well. 30 minutes into this game, he's going to be level 18. High, 4 levels above Naru very soon. Completely ridiculous from this Diana at the moment. And I really love this build out of Moss as well. He's grabbed the Frozen Heart so that he's eliminating the one big threat on Dark Passage. The fact that Maokai's not going to be doing any damage. Naru has a Haunting, guys. So it's only going to be the Kog'Maw that's really going to be a threat to anyone here on the Bangkok Titans. And now, probably not.
Look, Haunting Guys is a good item. I don't want to say it too much, but it's good against health stacking champions in terms of its efficiency compared to a Void Staff and against people like Lulu that doesn't have a whole lot of health.
Come on, man. We don't need to defend it anymore.
Yeah.
So, like, it's okay.
It's one of my favorite items, to be perfectly honest. I love Leandri's Torment. I'm a Zyra player.
Yeah, well.
But it's better on Zyra than it is on Orianna.
So G4 is doing the famous, okay, I beat you in lane, now I'm going to split push, and anything else you send at me, I'm also going to kill.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
the
we
Gromp
expected.
and all sorts of stuff.
He's anything that's basically alive near him dies.
And this is the big risk here for Dark Passage, is that they can still team fight. They've got the Orianna, so 100% capable of fighting as a team of 5. But Bangkok Titans are not allowing this to happen. They've got one top lane most of the time in the Lulu, and they've got one bottom lane most of the time. The only person that can deal with G4 is Elwind. And when I say deal, take that with a grain of salt. He's the only one that can sit in that lane and not die in it 1 second flat.
Yeah, he takes a little bit more time to die. Yeah, he still does generally die, though. We've seen it a couple of times now as Bangkok Titans are going to be able to take down their 3rd dragon of the game, 007X, with the smite. Not needed because there is, in fact, a ring.
Dragon number 3 now. A tag finds Crystal as Lloyd dashes forward with some help from Warlock. And once again, G4 looking for the flank, looking for anyone who's pressed just a bit too far forward to add to that already impressive scoreline. 30 minutes in, Titans have the lead, but they can't quite crack Dark Passage's defense.
Yeah, take a second to realize how good Bangkok Titans' dive will be if they execute it right. They've got a Lulu with a Death Cat Rod of Ages to go on a Diana. Yeah, oh my good. Who has a Zonia's and an Abyssal Scepter. So not going to die. Really, what is Elwin? But slight impediment from...
Yeah, G4 getting a bit too aggressive, might be punished here, drops the Zonias.
Cool
He's
pose.
buying himself some time. Oh man, this is actually pretty tricky. I don't know if he can survive. Knockup is locking him down. He doesn't have any way to get health back. They're going to shred through. He dashes forward, but Elwin gets the shutdown.
That was just over-aggressive positioning here. He was looking to get the turret down, and Crystal can just use that ultimate and get back to a position where the Baron can no longer be contested.
Yeah, it was so smart out of Dark Passage as well to use the Rek'Sai Maokai combo to take down this Diana that needed two people, because they can both get so easily towards that Baron. Not allow that to happen, but Naru, he's gone aggressive. 007X has the wild growth on him, but still going to fall down. Zeitnot with a lot of damage. Warlock flashes out of the way of the Shockwave, which is going to find no one. Hula Hoops on the Rift at the moment as Moss taking a fair bit of damage, but Unbreakable helping him out. Bangkok Titans, without G4, look like a very different beast.
Zeitnot is so big right now. He was absolutely untouched throughout that entire skirmish, and you saw once he got onto 007X, despite the full health shield from Lulu, he shred through him.
Definitely. Dark Passage, they're a side that can 100% do what they just did, and that is group up as fight members and team fight. Of course, Zeitnot, having those two big items is infinitely dangerous. Not having G4 is so bad for this team because, again, he is pretty much the entirety of them. They've got a Lulu to bolster his strength at the moment in terms of team fighting. And if he's dead, they should not be anywhere near the enemy team.
Okay, I take it all back, what I said about the Haunting guys. I actually love it. Because now he's gone for the Rylo's Crystal Scepter, so he'll get the double extra damage from the burn from that particular item once he completes it. And the consistent damage that's going to be available from Dark Passage is actually going to be rather high. The fact that the Wild Growth can be burnt through with that Liandry's as well, which does percentage health damage. And look, Bangkok Titans, they're all about avoiding potential burst, but Dark Passage are all about consistent damage and wearing you down.
So I think the reason he's gone for this build...
I was going for something, you know, that was my final justification. I'm going to stick with it.
So the reason he's gone for this build is because he needs defensive stats. It's a very good kiting-based build as well against assassins, and there's only the one assassin who'll be getting in your face. So you get away from G4 with that Rylai's. You don't necessarily need to use the W and expend mana to do so. You force G4 to go over-aggressive to catch you then. Having the health from the Rylai's, having the health from the Haunting guys, and some resistance from the Athenes is good to deal with G4. But if Lloyd ever touches you, you are gone. And honestly, if you went for a Death Cat and you went for a Void Staff, if Lloyd was near you, he was gone.
And also there's that big issue of Callista doing a lot of damage if left unchecked. If you don't kill her in a very short space of time, she runs away.
Or takes a sneaky Baron. Lloyd is going to pull Moss away from Rydal and Zeitnot. They were trying to sneak the Baron once again while Lloyd split pushes, but the strategy didn't work the first time. It didn't work the second time now. And Dark Passage starting to hit some of those scary, scary damage spikes as Zeitnot gets closer and closer to a Phantom Dancer.
It's about breaking the base now, right?
Yeah.
Because they're forcing the Baron to actually just bring attention to it. They don't want to do the Baron. They just want you to come towards it. If Dark Passage bring 4 members there, it means that there is only one left on the bottom side of the map. And if there's one there, then G4 can just walk in and hit your turrets. No one is going to stop him from doing that if there's only one member there. So this is what their strategy is, to break the base, and once the base is broken, the game becomes significantly easier for them to close it out.
Well, that being said, Zeke's Harbinger has been completed here on the side of Dark Passage, so Rydal going to be bolstering Zeitnot's power. D4, Crystal looking for some Prey Seekers there as the dynamic duo of Elwind and Crystal going to try and beat this Diana to death.
Oh, that's not good. The one thing I would have liked to have seen from this Diana is an upgraded yellow trinket. because the split push is consistent. Oh, they're going.
Oh,
Yeah.
they look to set up the dive right now. They're going to try rushing through this turret. They're able to break the inhibitor. But here's Naru. Shockwave gets Zanya's.
Fantastic.
G4 is in a tricky situation. Knockup keeps him standing. He tries to dive into the back, but he's just being locked down by Elwind and Crystal. There's a fight. A huge Fates Call on the side of Lloyd and Moss. Lloyd gets stunned against the wall. Fates Call pulled him out. G4 is still alive. They're going to turn on to Crystal. Crystal gets destroyed by Lloyd, and G4 leads the charge anew.
G4 with Warlock.
Oh,
no
what?
hit.
Yep, just going to kill Naru one more time. Elwind now in a lot of trouble. He's going to have to get out of there. Zeitnot, what are you doing on that side of the fight? Double kill for G4. Cosmic Binding, too little, too late as the Acathian Surprise going to tickle the Bangkok Titans. And Nexus turret's under fire. It looks like Bangkok Titans going to make it 1-1, and that's going to mean 1-1 apiece for everyone here at the IWCQ.
We have got ourselves a tournament, gentlemen. Teleport from G4 for the style as the Nexus goes down, and the Titans take the win 13-6, 36 minutes in.
That is why you don't give a Diana kills. If there's
Yeah.
one thing we can take from that right there is the G4 put the team on his back and said, all right, guys, we're getting a victory. That is exactly what they did right there. The teleport into that bottom lane was a masterstroke because then Lulu can protect the Diana, who only has 2 tanks hitting him. I didn't see him at much health dropping.
No, the shields were so big, and the fact that he was able to drop an inhibitor turret in 4 auto attacks, absurd.
Just ridiculous. And there's the fact that you can just see that the Bangkok Titans so much more comfortable in this split push scenario, and the fact that G4 able to create all of this pressure on the map. He couldn't do it when they were playing against the Chiefs. He was on a Varus. It's not the same kind of pick. That's for sitting in the back of a team fight, never really going in, not initiating for your team unless you're going to be throwing out that ultimate. And even then, I mean, it's something that you want to do reactionary as opposed to aggressively. And he can now do that. On the Diana, I mean, you're straight in there using your face to smack people down. And look, it works so much better for this team.
Yeah, such incredible play from G4. You know, we were talking so much about the priority pick of that Callista, but that was backup. The big star, the big highlight was G4.
Welcome to this team in a nutshell. Though.
Yeah.
You look at Lloyd, he is the secondary carry. G4 is the entirety of that team. And it was just really well executed at the end. It took them about 10 to 15 minutes to really set up to get that turret down. And that was a sign of weakness, essentially, from this side. It's one thing that has been replicated through all of the wildcard teams is the inability to use a lead and actually close out the game effectively. But they got there in the end because G4 was just so damn big that it did not matter. And all it took was that one moment, the Baron baits that went for 10 minutes. It was all to get this end result, to break the bottom side of the base. The second that was gone, the game was a whitewash.
Excellent play from the Titans. But to be fair, the Titans did get to play their style. The skirmish, run around the map, let G4 kill things.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a big deal to talk about. The fact that, you know, this is the Bangkok Titans in their comfort zone, and we'll see whether any of these other IWCQ teams can really put them on the back foot and force them to mix it up, kind of like what the Chiefs did. The fact that they forced them into this sort of weird poke comp with the Varus there in the mid lane. Of course, G4 had played it in the past. It's not like he wasn't used to that champion, but that's just not how they look comfortable. And we'll see how these teams force them onto different picks.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out. We're going to toss it out to our analysts to let them know, or let us know, what they think of the game.
Thank you very much. And what a game there from Bangkok Titans. They survived yesterday, having to not be able to play through the game. They survived the 50-minute slugfest versus the Chiefs. And then all of a sudden, a pretty convincing game, honestly, against who we were calling the favorites, Dark Passage.
Yeah, Dark Passage. They came in. This is tournaments being fought on Turkish soil, and this is their first real blunder. And once again, you have to go back towards that champ. So, like, you know, people keep letting this Callista pick through. And even though it wasn't the bottom lane that really exploded this time, we'll talk about G4 in a second. I just feel that you have to give them so much, I guess, respect when they do pick up the Callista, and no team's able to deal with that.
Yeah, you heard Froskurin talk about it earlier. Just such a powerful pick, enables so many good things for your team. But let's talk about what was really happening that game. In that mid lane, this pick right here, 2 games in a row, seeing Diana go absolutely off.
Yeah, and let's talk about the Diana pick a little bit, because I feel that unless you watch the LPL a lot, then you won't really know much about it. And while she's seeing a lot of play, and it's all about the summoner spells you get to take. You know, you take the teleport. All of a sudden, with the Doran's Ring, you're not pigeonholed into the flash. You're much more tanky. You're able to skill up the W, shove the wave out really aggressively, then teleport back in. And that's what we saw G4 do this this game. You know, he got ganked. They were trying to control her, but Diana's strength is she's a split pusher, and she absolutely rips apart control mages, and that is exactly what G4 did this game.
Oriana's certainly having some problems there in the mid lane for Naru. And you know, you're right, when you take a farm fest there purely to Diana, she's going to get farm, you're going to get farm, and she's going to come out much better on the end of that trade.
Yeah, and exactly right. It's because of the options. You know, you're able to split push, you're able to pull people around the map, but you're also able to assassinate AD carries, and that's exactly what G4 excelled at as this game progressed.
We talked about it. He's a big assassin player. Let's pull up our first replay now and take a closer look at some of G4's antics this game.
Yeah, and this is where the Bangkok Titans are a really great team. You can see Blue Buff is just gone across to Naru, but they're invading up into this area, and they're always the first team to respond because this is how they like to play League of Legends. So as we roll this one out, you see 007X is already up there with Moss. They go super aggressive, double flash. All of a sudden, the assassin flies in there, deletes Naru, and there's not much they can do on the back end. You know, the team fight continues, but in the end, all the Dark Passage lineup can do is successfully disengage, and Bangkok Titans start getting control.
Yeah, and that was the 8th kill in that game. So 7 kills already in about 15 minutes. It was a very fast-paced game. And we've said it already, Bangkok Titans are a team that really thrive in that chaotic sort of environment when they can all collapse instantly.
Yeah, they want standard lanes, and they want to be able to fight you over and over again over little things, not huge objectives, blue buffs, scuttle crabs, just certain areas of the fight that they like to get in your face. And, you know, if it comes down to it, they'll even pick fights in laning.
They will, although Tower Dive, which we had G4 doing this game as well. And that's, I guess, the nice thing about the teleport as well there for the Diana. Already kind of an assassin, definitely a strong sort of pick for G4, but being able to have that same mobility and collapse, there's a reason they like Thresh, because you pull someone in with you and just get to the fights quicker.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you know, we said that maybe their one weakness is their macro play. Double teleport just shores up that weakness so beautifully, especially when it's on a split pusher. So I can't really commend Bangkok Titans enough for how many adaptations they made on the fly between the Chiefs game and this Dark Passage game to this time come out on the top.
Absolutely. And again, a long game there to start their day. So looking good now, 1 apiece. And we have another replay to pull up now as well, because Bangkok Titans, they were just all over this game.
Yeah, they certainly were, but this actually started with Zeit not wanting to be aggressive. Right now, he is the AD carry that thinks he's in a little bit of a lead. You can see he's up in CS, has that Trinity Force power spike. But as we roll this one out, you see the use of Braum versus the use of Bard, because Bard doesn't get the initial stun. Braum gets the knock-up, the concussive blows. All of a sudden, Zeit not goes down, and a whiffed ultimate out of Rydal there doesn't keep them alive for long enough. The collapse once again comes out of the Bangkok Titans. G4, the money man, once again here just to delete people. And, you know, the whole of the Dark Passage lineup looked like they just couldn't respond quick enough to what the Bangkok Titans were throwing at them.
And that's how they play. Like we've said, very chaotic, very fast-paced, and a lot of collapses. G4 did a great job roaming around this game, got massively fed in this game on Diana. You even saw just in that last little passage, Abyssal Scepter and Nash has already done it around 18 minutes. He was ripping through people.
Yeah, exactly right. And I feel this is the second game in a row where the favorites haven't given the other team enough respect. You could see Dark Passage, they wanted to play the aggressive, in-your-face, skirmish me style. The Bangkok Titans, honestly, last IWC made their shtick, and this time, Bangkok Titans, once again, proving that they're just the best team at doing it, so why try and play that game style against them?
And, you know, for all the good G4 did, and he certainly did a lot of it, can't help credit 007X there as well. He was very on form this game around with the Gragas. Had a much more proactive game, lots of flash body slams, lots of ultimates. Died once or twice, kind of going a little too deep, but that's his style. He just wants to get in your face and start to make plays.
Yeah, 100%. And what that does, if your jungler is in their face, it means that you isolate other parts of the map, and 007X, credit to him, was able to time and time again be in their jungler's face.
Certainly was. We have our final replay as well of the series right towards the end this time, and this was just genius.
All right, so let's set up the tone around this. What had happened is that they were trying to send the 2 globals on the Dark Passage lineup to respond to G4 because he was relentlessly split pushing. So what they do is they actually say, well, we're done playing around with Baron. You know, we don't want that objective anymore. We're going to take the fight to them. They've got 2 globals. Well, we do too. Let's get the Lulu in the lane with the assassin. So that's exactly how it starts. Teleport coming out. As we roll this one through, they go aggressive, but they prioritize the turret. All of a sudden, Base broken. Dark Passage must respond, and they whiff the shockwave one more time. G4 clutches out on the Zonyas. He gets made huge. And, you know, if we pause it right here, what's happening is the whole of the Bangkok Titans are responding, and everyone else on Dark Passage is just a little bit too far away. So as we continue to roll this one out, you can see collapses coming through from Bangkok, collapses coming through from Bangkok. G4 still brawling on the back line, and in the end, they're just way too far ahead. They're able to throw multiple Callista Spears in there, and then G4 just tears everyone apart.
Yeah, it does ridiculous damage. You can see these structures going to get taken out by the Diana passive, and then this happens.
Yeah, exactly right. The beauty of the Nash's Tooth, you don't even have to hit the Q because it just does so much damage with the third auto attack. G4 dives in there with the ultimate, gets the snipe one more time. Naru's down. He hasn't had the best game, and the Bangkok Titans roll over the Dark Passage lineup.
Yeah, and the matchup there looking good for G4. His jungler was out in force, making sure it was going okay. Bottom lane had a great game. Warlock had a good game on the supportive Lulu, and it's just business as usual here for the Bangkok Titans. Again, G4 and these assassin picks. He can play the control mages, but why would you?
Yeah, and Warlock's done it again this time around. Last time, you know, we were saying the Lee Sin came out of nowhere. What the heck is going on? This time we were like, he plays Na, he plays Shen, he plays Maokai. A couple of Lulu picks here, and we're like, what the heck is going on with this top laner? He seems to be the most flexible person on their team, at least you would have to say, that is able to mix it up on the international stage and play what his team needs. Lulu's such a power pick right now, especially with a good AD carry on Warlock coming up trumps.
Yeah, I think so as well. Again, he leads this team, very experienced, has been here before, played with his team for quite a long time. And that flexibility, that unpredictability, that chaotic style, that's what defines the Bangkok Titans. So it's great to see everybody stepping up. G4 going crazy on Assassins just as much as Warlock is hanging back on a Lulu.
Yeah, so what that means is all of a sudden there's two styles that you really have to watch out for. That Assassin mid lane with the Lulu top just augments it so well, especially if they go towards something like a Zed. Cannot stress how many get out of jail free cards you give your mid laner in that situation. But also the fact that Lloyd and Moss can still carry, and you have this invade roam heavy style out of your jungler that I describe it best. He just wants to mess with people 007X. He wants to get in your jungler's face. He wants to steal some scuttle crabs, be a complete nuisance. And if Bangkok Titans can rattle such a good team like Dark Passage, steal a win, once again, blue side coming up huge today, it's going to mean a very exciting IWC tournament.
Certainly will. And the Bangkok Titans, a good win there. But Dark Passage, they do have to play again right after this. So let's get a little bit more insight into how the locals have been going.
İki yıl boyunca şampiyonluklara koyulan ambargo, dünya şampiyonası tecrübesi, kaybedilen ilk final ama yeniden zafer. İşte Dark Passage'ın hikayesi. Kış mevsiminde inişli çıkışlı bir performans sergileyen takım, son haftalarda aldığı galibiyetlerin ardından HVA Games atışla ikincilik mücadelesine tutuştu. Ligi önünde bitirmeyi başardığı rakibi HVA'yı 5 maçlık yarı final serisinde de mağlup eden Dark Passage, finalde Beşiktaş'ın karşısına çıktı. Yaşanan 3-0'lık ağır mağlubiyet takımın 2013 Aralık ayından bu yana kaybettiği ilk resmi seri anlamına geliyordu.
İlk resmi mağlubiyetimi KMF'de aldım Beşiktaş'a karşı. Bu beni aynı zamanda takımımı çok hırslandırdı. Şampiyonluğun rahatlığı vardı üstümüzde. Bunu aldı. Daha çok çalışıp tekrar daha iyi bir takım haline gelmeyi başardık.
Yıldız nişancısı Holy Phoenix'i 7'ye çeken yönetim, HVA'nın mekanikleriyle ünlü nişancısı Zeytnot'u transfer etti. İstikrarı yakalamak için bir değişiklik daha yapan takım, 3. haftada LCS patentli destek oyuncusu Rydell'ı kadrosuna kattı.
Not too much time to adapt because they are very good guys and they start to talk in English and they try to put their best to just make a good mood, make a good communication. So yeah, the beginning was a bit hard, but right now I think we have no problems and the communication and the adapt of the team is very very good.
Kış mevsiminden beri iyileşmemizde, Dark Passage'ın gelişmesinde Rydell'ın gelişi, koç değişmesi, Auspex'in gelişi daha çok öne çıkıyor ve Koray'ın da 6 maç band serisinden sonra gelmesi moral olarak tekrar takımı diriltti. Tekrar moralimizi kazanıp daha iyi oynamaya başladık.
Beşiktaş'ın az kadrosunu ilk kez mağlup etmeyi başaran Dark Passage, 5. haftadan itibaren Naruto'nun da geri dönmesiyle birlikte adeta seriye bağladı. Üst üste alınan galibiyetlerin ardından lig aşamasını 2. sırada bitiren DP, TBF'ye yarı finalden başladı. Ezeli rakibi HVA Games satışa yakın geçmesi beklenen seride hiç şans tanımayan takım, 3-0'lık net bir galibiyetle Ülker Sports Arena'nın yolunu tuttu. KMF ve İvci şampiyonu her iki mevsiminde lig birincisi Beşiktaş'ı adeta nakavt etti. Seri kazanan takım 3 yıl üst üste TBF şampiyonu olmayı başardı. Dünya Şampiyonası'na katılan ilk Şampiyonluk Ligi takımı olma unvanına sahip olan ekip, wildcard elemelerinde de favori konumunda.
Dünya şampiyonası bizim için çok şey ifade ediyor. Mesela ben daha önce hiçbir uluslararası turnuvaya katılmadım. Böyle bir etkinlikte bulunup kendimi geliştirebilmek istiyorum. Daha iyi oyunculara karşı oynayıp kendi seviyemi görebilmek istiyorum. Geçen Dünya Şampiyonası'nda Koray gittiğinde ne kadar yetersiz bir oyuncu olduğunu görmüştü ve çok fazla geliştirdi kendini. Şu an belki de LCS seviyesinde. Bunu aynısını ben de yaşamak istiyorum.
Dark Passage evinde düzenlenecek organizasyonu kazanmak ve Türkiye'yi Dünya Şampiyonası'nda yeniden temsil etmek istiyor.
Dark Passage olarak ülkemizi uluslararası alanda çok kez temsil ettik. Bu kez yine wildcard'dayız ve bu turnuvayı da birincilikle kapatmak istiyoruz.
And you can see Dark Passage there. So much success locally and a lot of success internationally as well, especially around the wildcard tournaments. Gonna be tricky now after just picking up a loss. They'll have to play straight up against the Chiefs.
Yeah, that got real interesting, that video. You can see even the Dark Passage lineup, they knew they were the favorite coming into this tournament, dropping a game against the Bangkok Titans. These guys just keep upsetting tournament after tournament. And, you know, a lot of pressure. Besiktas, they were able to go through to MSI. They were the winner of the IWC tournament. But this time around, a little bit more pressure on Dark Passage, you have to think.
And again, Worlds, the tournament that I guess this feeds into now, perhaps a little bit more on the line as far as the teams are concerned, a little bit more as far as the players and the performances from all the teams go. So going to be tough here in Dark Passage. They have to shake off the loss and come again. So you have to think who's presumably renewed Chiefs, taking a break after the surprise loss to Detonation. Focus Me. They've already beaten Bangkok Titans. If they're looking at their last game, thinking we can do it too.
Yeah, and you know, Pastry Time, both these teams very old, a lot of experience on them. Dark Passage, they've been international before. The Chiefs, under the brand team immunity, they also were able to compete internationally. And I think I have a clip that I dug out of my attic somewhere that showed these teams in a head-to-head.
Yeah, some of the best, probably the best we've ever done against the Turkish side, Dark Passage.
And you can see Swiper still inside, able to open up with Radiant on the Twitch. A huge wombo combo came out. Dark Passage didn't know what hit them. You can see Naru playing the Twist of Fate. He's forced to run away. And Immunity, now the Chiefs, they're able to pick up that victory.
Yeah, roster's completely different there as well. And again, this was about the last moment we've had, but there's certainly been a lot of international pride between the two countries.
Yeah, and you know, as an unbiased caster, I have to point out that Dark Passage did play Legacy after that. Ejim was on the lineup. They absolutely destroyed us 3-0 in one of the finals. And, you know, the Chiefs, they also lost against Besiktas. So, you know, on the screen, you can see the record, but this one is the one that stands out the most.
The one win from Immunity, and then carnage, absolute carnage over from the Turkish squad. So it's been tough for sure, but it's been a great fun rivalry up against the Turkish side. And the Chiefs, they come in now again, renewed, looking for victory. As always at these big tournaments, you have to think if you are going to get to the finals and have a shot at winning, you must unseat Dark Passage.
Yeah, they're just a team that you have to go through, and Bangkok Titans have proven they can do that. In all seriousness, that is the game that we showed that started this rivalry, because Turkey was a much better region back then than the Oceania, and they've continued to grow. And Oceania always in this, I guess, the shadow of the other major IWC regions, trying to get back to that pinnacle that they showed at that stage. And the Chiefs is the lineup that really started all of this. So to come full 360 right now, this is a huge moment for the Chiefs, but also for Dark Passage equally, to prove that they're good enough to bounce back after a devastating loss against Bangkok Titans, where they looked outclassed.
They really did here, and it's an important game for both of them for just the sole reason that we played double round robin, 6 games a day. Each team plays each other team twice, so 3 games total. And this is the last game that these two teams will play today. It was almost always going to be contentious, OCE versus Turkey, with Turkey arguably having a slight edge coming into the matchup. But a win here gives the Chiefs the 2-1 and sets the tournament favourites at 1-2 to start day number 1.
Yeah, exactly right. And you have to think Bangkok Titans, they're looking at Detonation Focus Me in a whole new light, because they want the 2v1 for the game. They round it out at night. And whoever wins this game will also join the Bangkok Titans or Detonation Focus Me on that pedestal for the day. So huge game right now for both the Chiefs and Dark Passage. You have to think a lot of it going to be in that mid lane. You know, both are control mages now. We've seen that G4 can have his way on the Assassins. Maybe one of them tries to mix it up and goes back to a throwback pick.
And that used to be the Swiffer method, that's for sure. Was a big assassin player, likes of Diana, likes of Ari, has lots of different picks that he can bring on.
We saw last time.
Even Zed as well is another big pick for him. He might do it, but it's hard to say. He's been definitely sticking to his guns. The Victors, the Azirs. Chiefs, again, they're playing very standard. It feels like very safe, very Chief-centric League of Legends, but it's just their execution every time. They need to get the game plan going.
Yeah, it certainly is. And both these teams lost by doing the cardinal sin. You do not give Kalista up to Kalista players. I just feel that there's no point even talking about it as an analyst anymore. And both of them got very much burnt by the control that champion puts over neutrals and over the 2v2 bottom lane.
Well, we'll see if they've learned a lot from their first day here. We're going to throw back to the caster desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. And we